So I was able to get some high-res scenes rendered. So there's still about a few frames missing. So sometimes it might kind of flick a little bit. It's just a missing frame. So these are two different renders, both made with the same cache. One single cache, okay, that was duplicated and moved around. So we can see we have some really interesting things going on in there. Okay. So let's see how to put this together. I'm going to close this one. Okay, so I'm going to start with a simple sphere. So I'm going to create a sphere. I'm going to leave it by default at 1, okay? And from the shelf, I'm going to just go power effects, below smoke. So shelf 2 are always pretty good because they kind of set some good default values based on your scene scale, okay? Actually more based on your meter, but kind of helps you already to have some values to start with. Okay, so I'm gonna just change a bit all this. So I'm gonna start to change the division size and lower it to 0.1 to have a little bit more details. Then in here I'm just double checking quickly that it does what I'm expecting it to do. Okay, so that's fine. Now I'm just gonna double check here, and I'm going to animate now just my I'm gonna already bring this one to the side here. I'm gonna animate my scale source volume because I don't want to be it constant. I just want to emit for a while, and then I'm just gonna kill my emission, okay? Because otherwise, if we keep it to emit, we might have some issues when we start to put all those caches together. So I'm first gonna go in manual mode because I don't want it to cook while I'm doing this. I'm gonna move like around frame 130-ish. Okay, so let's say 133, and I'm gonna put here keyframe at 1, and then I'm gonna go like 40 frame-ish further, around 170 something. It doesn't really matter. It's really gonna be up to you how fast it's gonna slow down, but give it still like almost 2 seconds. Okay, and now I'm gonna just turn it down at 0. Oh, I didn't turn on the auto key, so let's just change this and make sure it kept the other one, and I think it did. So I'm just gonna shift left click to open the channel editor, sorry, and yeah, that seems fine. Okay, cool. So now then I'm gonna have my meter, okay, turning off. Over time I'm gonna go to the solver and just make a few changes here. So time scale, so that's the first thing we're going to change because we really want it to be slower than what we're going to see here. So again, we want it to sim it slow as possible, and then we're just going to speed it up if we need to, because it's easy to speed up a sim cache per sim, sorry, because once you cached it, if you want to make it go faster, that's easy, but slowing down sim coming out from Power, it's not really possible. So that's why it's better to sim more frames, but then you're gonna be able to time shift everything. Okay, so I'm gonna start with a value of 0.5, and again I'm gonna animate this. So I'm gonna go like around frame 100. I'm gonna put my first keyframe here, and then I'm gonna move this time further in time, again around 170, but I'm gonna give it more time to slow down, okay, because I don't want it to be too violent, the changes. And now here I'm gonna lower it to 0.15, so it's gonna go really slowly. So this actually behavior, I can just go load back that file, I'm going to actually show you the flip book of it because we're going to save some time. So say that's 0.5 and then we see it slowing down. Okay, so that's really what the look we're after. So it's coming up pretty fast and then slows down. Okay, and gets lower. Perfect. So that's really what we're doing here. Now, temperature diffusion, we're going to leave it as it is. Buoyancy, if we leave it as well. And cooling rates, we're going to lower it at 0.5. So it's going to take a little bit more time to cool down. So combustion is off, so that's fine. And now we're going to add some details, okay, inside of sim to make it look nice. So dissipation, I want it to be almost not dissipating at all, so I'm gonna keep a really small value because I don't want my density to disappear. Okay, I just want it to fade away, so I'm gonna go with a really small value of 0.001. Then disturbance, I'm gonna make it higher. I'm gonna put it at 1, and we're gonna use that shredding. So this one is gonna really help me to get that nice billowy look. And this, I'm gonna animate it as well, once again, to have something a little bit nicer. So I'm gonna go put my first frame around frame 20. Okay, so I always, sorry I didn't say, but if you don't know, you can just do Alt left click to create a keyframe, okay? Otherwise you could just right click and go under I even don't remember where to create your keyframes. Oh, there, sorry about that. On the channel and keyframes. So, and I'm gonna set here a value of 0.1. So smaller the value, more billowy it's gonna be looking. Okay. And now I'm gonna go around frame 72, and I'm gonna change this to 0. No, sorry, I'm gonna put this at 1.5. What did I just do? I went in the wrong one, my bad. Correct frame, yeah, 1.5. Okay, turbulences, I'm gonna lower them at 0.15. And one last thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go here on the advanced. I'm gonna go to advection and I'm gonna change it to BFECC. Why? Just, yeah, it's personal, but kind of think it looks better. But that's really up to you. You don't have to. You really make some tests and see which one works better for you. So I'm gonna go back to shapes and I'm gonna just set the right values in there. Okay. So let's just actually play it like this to see kind of what we have to. I'm just gonna reset my solver. That's not the one. I'm looking for this one here. So I'm just gonna put some colors. Actually, I'm gonna set 3 names. So I'm gonna call this one source sphere. This one is gonna become my top smoke column. And reset start frame. I'm gonna leave it at 1, so that's fine. And okay, go back to cook. Okay, what? Reset. Okay, let's just see what we get here. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna add quickly a light just to have some shadows, okay, in the viewport. So we're gonna create lights later, but that's just, oops, for now, to get some shadows in there. Okay, it makes it already easier to read. Okay. Maybe just see. Okay, that's not bad. Could leave it like this. Okay, at least now we kind of have a better idea about our shape. So I'm gonna let it to play a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna stop it here because I see I forget to do something. So we're already reaching the edges of a container. Okay, so that's something I don't want it to happen. So, but we can already see we start to have some interesting details. But okay, I'm gonna go back to the first frame on my resize container, and I forgot to turn off my max bound. Okay, because I don't want it to clamp at any size. I just want it to get as big as it needs it to be. So I'm just gonna change now some details here. So disturbance, I'm gonna leave everything as it is. That seems pretty good. Now shredding. So I'm gonna lower the temperature threshold. Okay, so what's lower at 0.3 is gonna be affected by the shredding. Then squash, I'm gonna put it at 3. I want it to be a bit stronger than it would be by default. Then the stretch, I'm gonna push it up at 1, and I'm gonna go leave this like this. That seems okay. Okay. Now turbulences. So for the turbulences, I'm gonna lower oscillator size to 0.8. And I'm gonna leave everything else as it is. Okay, so now this we're going to want to simulate like for 1500 frames. So we're gonna just set up our output settings. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back up. I'm gonna kind of start to sort all this. So I'm just gonna make some colors there for my light, put this on the side, come in here. This one, I'm gonna rename it to Smoke column output. I'm gonna dive in there. I'm gonna get rid of that visualization node. I'm never using it. Okay, now here I'm just gonna double check that it has all the fields. Okay, it has to export, so I'm gonna leave this because remember we're going to upres our sims. So now in here what we're going to do, I'm gonna set up how to get a nice workflow for upres. So in here I'm gonna first compress my volumes. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a preset, so because that's kind of some kind of magical numbers. So I'm gonna volume compress. So what this does, it's just gonna compress as much as it can the data coming out from our grids, so it's gonna save a lot of memory. So if you just gonna bring up that preset, okay, you're gonna see it's gonna turn on update compression settings, put the values at 0.01 for both of them, and turn the use 16-bit floats on, because by default the data is in 32 bits. So now you have different solutions. One, you could just save it out as is, as low res cache, or you could just save out like a visualization cache. So you're just gonna keep the density. It's just for you to be able to work in your viewport, and you're straight gonna cache out the result of your upres. So it's going to be running your low res sim at the same time. It's going to upres it and then cache out that upres. So I'm going to show you a setup that's going to allow you to do both of it. Okay. So first thing we want to do then here, I'm just going to use a volume resample. So this one, what it does is going to be able to change the amount of voxels inside my grid. So I'm going to change this to 0.3. So it's going to be like 9 times less voxels than what's coming from my import pyro field, okay, my .io. Then I'm going to just keep only my density field, okay, so I'm going to put here a deletes, sorry about that, a deletes up, plug it in. And there I'm gonna, the group, I could just, it's not coded, so it doesn't display, but I could just type it like this. So at name, so I'm looking at the attribute called name. Okay, it's a primitive attribute. If it's not equal to density, I'm gonna delete them. Okay, density. So like this, oops. Like this, it's just going to keep my density field. Everything else is going to be deleted because I don't care about the temperature, I don't care about the velocity, I don't care about all the other fields when it comes to just display it in the viewport. And now here what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a file cache. Oh no, just a file sub, sorry about that. Okay, I usually like to put purple color for my caches. And this one, I'm just going to put it, instead of read file, I'm going to put it as write file. So the way that works, it's when I have something, my animation running or simulation running, when it's set to that mode, everything what's coming in that file sub is going to write it to the output I'm going to give it here. So I'm already in my Smoke Plume 1, so that's fine for me. So here what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna actually name this Smoke Plume 01 and call it display underscore v01 point $f.bgo. So we could compress it, okay, to save space on the hard drive. So just by putting GZ at the end, there is some good thing and bad thing. So the good thing, obviously, it doesn't use a lot of space of on your hard drive. Same if you have it on the network, less time to go on the network. The other thing that's kind of like actually downfall of it, it's Houdini is not able to read anymore the header of the cache, and that header of the cache allows it to, at render time, for example, to load only what's visible to the camera. If it's compressed like this, it's going to have to load the entire file, so it might go slower when it comes to render time to if you compress it. Okay, so but then again, this is just for the viewport, so that's going to be fine. I'm going to compress it to save some space. Now, what I'm going to do there, I'm just going to put, again, a delete sub. And this time, I'm just going to delete everything. I don't want anything coming out of my delete sub. Okay? Why? Because now I'm going to lay down here merge. And I'm just going to merge those two nodes together. Because the way Houdini works like this, obviously it's going to go straight down from my volume compress. But then it's going to go in here, save. It's really that saving operation. We're interested in that right branch and bring it back in here. So we want to make sure nothing is coming back, because otherwise we would have twice 2 times data for the density, and it's going to mix it up and it's going to be like messy, and we're going to get some weird results. So now I'm going to put like a null here, and I'm going to put this like out low res sim, and to finish with a file cache here, I'm gonna put this one, so that should be not fine because I didn't rename it. So Smoke Plume 01. How did I call it last time? Oh, Plume, my bad. Smoke Plume 01. Okay, and what I'm gonna just add, I'm gonna put DN here low res. So now I could just go here and save my sim. Okay, as it is. So if I press render here, it starts to render my sim. So I'm gonna interrupt it because I don't want this. Okay. One thing I want to change here right away. I want to go anyway to go to 1500 frames. So it's gonna be a big cache. It's gonna take a couple of hours. It's not that bad. Okay, just a few hours to sim. So this setup now allows me to write out straight my cache file. So sorry, I'm just gonna show you something really quick. My low res cache file. Sorry, quickly in here. So I got a display for some reason. Oops. Let me just double check this. Oh yeah. Okay. So just my bad. Yeah, renamed it. It's in another folder. So that's fine. So that works. Okay. So we have those two caches. Okay. That were written. Oops. Sorry. This being the display one, and this one being a sim. Now I'm gonna go back up. I'm gonna dive inside my DOP network, and what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna go to my container tools tab, and I'm just gonna select my Pyro node here, and I'm gonna click on, where is it? It's here, upres. Okay, I'm gonna put, sorry, up, control, and then click, and it didn't do anything. Was it this one? I'm always confused with these. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, what is it? It doesn't let me to do it by default, so I'm gonna try it one more time here. Okay. Okay, this time it's cooking. So it looks like because I just was in full screen mode with my network view, it didn't really cook anything, so it didn't work. So yeah, that's kind of what happens sometimes with it. So I'm just gonna go back like this. So now we see we have a new .NET network, okay, and in here we have an upres solver. We still have a smoke object here, but that's gonna be for the upres sim. We have a resize container, zero source. Okay, so now we're just gonna have to change a few things in here to get it to work as we want it to be working. So first here I'm gonna just make it even a little bit smaller, so 0.04. Oops, I don't want to go down in here. Now I'm gonna go on my resize container, and I'm just gonna have to give it some different values, I think. Yeah, no, actually this seems pretty good. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it like this. I'm gonna go here, so that takes, just double checking everything. Okay, so the thing I want to do here though, it's I'm gonna animate my how do you say, scale source volume once again, because otherwise it's gonna still continue to emit all the time. So from here I'm gonna go like from frame 90. So oops, let me delete that from here. So if I go around 90, put a keyframe in there, and then again around 130 I'm gonna put this one at 0. So And the other thing, activation, I'm turning it, I'm deleting here that animation. I keep it on all the time. Okay, I'm gonna double my scale temperature, and finally I'm just gonna make sure it's looking at the right object here. So if I just look, it just brings me straight the import node, and that's not the one I wanted to look. I want to get the data out of here, okay? Because like we said, we already compressed of volumes to save some memory, so we just wanted to look at the right SOP in here. So we're just gonna go back here, and instead of import pyro fields, I'm just gonna replace it by my out low res sim. And actually I'm missing, oops, an S in there. There we go. So like this, when I'm gonna run my upres, and this is gonna take some time, it's gonna sim my low res. When it did the frame, it's gonna bring it down here and then go up. I'm just gonna put this aside here. I'm gonna just organize it a little bit in my upres network, okay? So now this, I'm gonna change the color quickly as well. So that's gonna be my upres node. Now I'm gonna go dive in import upres. I'm gonna just take the import sub here, and I'm gonna paste it in here next to the other one. There we go. So now we're going to do something kind of similar for the high res. Difference is now we're gonna get rid of some nodes, some fields here we don't need. Oh no, it's already done for us. Okay, we only have 3, so density, temperature, and heat. Already deleted everything else. So, oops. Now here I'm gonna add a volume resample, because what I want to do, it's changing again the, how do you say it? The grid size, okay, making having less voxels inside my container. Because what I'm gonna do there, I'm just gonna delete my velocity. So delete, because one thing it's good to know, you don't need to have the same amount of details when it comes to your velocity field, okay, to get your motion blur working. You can just have less voxels in there, and you're still gonna have some proper motion blur. You're just once again gonna optimize your entire workflow like this, because it's going to use less memory on your hard drives and on your computer when it comes to compute that data. So is not equal, so if that name is not equal to val star, okay, because it's a vectors, because otherwise it would be like val x, val y, z. So like this, I'm getting all 3 fields, and I'm just going to do delete non-selected. So I'm keeping only the velocity. So here I'm going to write it like keep velocity. Now what we're going to do here, we're going to add again another delete sub just in case. Okay, actually no, we don't need the delete. You just, yeah, if you don't want to do this, you just turn off that the merge that's going to be down here. So no, I'm going to leave it like this for now. Okay, I'm going to do a volume compress on the other fields. So volume compress, there we go. So volume compress again, I'm just gonna use my preset here, and then I'm gonna add a merge. And one thing I was about to forget, and we would have had some weird results. It's to delete the velocity, because we're gonna grab it that optimized version. So there we're going to do this, delete velocity, and now merging those back in. If you want, you could even write down here just a cache just for your velocity, if you like we did here with the density, but that's really up to you if you would need to have a separate cache. That might happen sometimes. And now I'm just gonna copy these two because I'm lazy, and I'm gonna plug them inside my merge like this. I'm gonna rename this up res sim, and this one up res, like this. So again, cool thing that because we already set that expression up, now I don't have to worry to create the right folders or to rename the files every time I copy paste. It just does it for me. So I'm just gonna now group those, so select them, Control N, okay, to make it just a bit nicer, like this. Okay, I'm gonna call this one low res, and this one is gonna be up res. So now what I'm gonna do, we're gonna put in here a RUP network, and I'm gonna lay down here first a geometry node, then this one I'm gonna rename it low res sim. So we could set up here the same way actually, like we did with the file cache, to get all the right versions. Okay, so I didn't do it this time, but that's definitely something I will do later. So now I'm just gonna bring in my low res sim. So out low res sim, I'm gonna go up, select my file cache, and just right click here and do copy parameter, and right click on output file and paste copy relative reference. Okay, so every time I'm gonna change up there the version, it's gonna update it down here for me. So I'm gonna turn on again here create intermediate directories, and frame range 1 to 1500, and the best would be again to just grab the parameters up here. So right click here, copy, go back down here and paste relative references, because I don't have to worry to come down here to update the values every single time. Now I'm gonna do the same, create another one for my high res, my up res. So I'm gonna be here up res sim. Okay, same, just copying everything. So first the path like this. Now I'm gonna grab my output null, so up res sim, changing it to render frame range. So grabbing it here, going back down here, create intermediate directories, and I think we are good. So now if I would run my up res sim, what it's gonna do, it's gonna come here, like I already said a couple of times, run my low res sim, compress my volume, resample it on the side here, then it's gonna keep only the density, write out that density cache for me, okay, to be able to use this as a display cache in the viewport. So it's going to be way faster than to have a lot of data to load for the viewport. And it's going to go straight down here to my outlet res. It's not going to write out here my low res sim, okay? It's going to bring it inside my upres network, because we gave it here the path, remember, in the upres solver. And then once it's done simming, it's coming down here. We're deleting the velocity because we're going to resample just that velocity field. And we're going down here and caching based on all the settings we have in our file cache. So this might take quite some time to sim. Could be like, if I remember well, around 2 minutes per frame to do that process. So if you don't want to have to wait that long, because 1500 frames is going to be around 50 hours sim, okay, you could just work with your low res. You already have that upres set up, so it's going to work for you. So if later you have time, just do it later. And if for now you just want to be able to get some render working with a low res version, that's fine as well. So what I'm going to do here, I'm gonna run my low res sim and cache it out, okay? And at the same time, I will see if I'm gonna recache or not the high res. I'm still gonna do it anyway to make sure everything works, okay? But not the entire frame range. So, and once this is gonna be done, what I'm in the next video, we're going to see how to rebuild the entire column to get that nice kind of shape we have here, okay? So this is like one container, that's going to be another one, that's going to be another one. In there, there's going to be like maybe 12, 15 containers